Open a channel to Planetary Defense Command and tell them to stand by for coordinated response, Captain Rurik Thorn ordered, his voice firm against the rising tide of data that cascaded across the heads-up displays. Earth's defensive network was crumbling piece by piece, each satellite blinking out of existence under the calculated onslaught of the Tirvox Collective's fleet. The deck beneath his boots quivered with each distant impact that echoed up from the planet's surface, a muted percussion of defiance meeting overwhelming force. The scent of recycled air, tinged with the faintest bite of ozone from the power relays, pressed against the back of his throat as he swept his eyes across the men manning their stations. Data readouts glowed bright green and amber, reflecting off taut faces and determined eyes. Across from him, Ensign Merrick's fingers flew across the console as he tried to keep up with the Tirvox's formation shifts. Lead elements approaching Sector 16, vector locked on orbital relay stations, Marek reported, his tone measured but his posture tense, a line of sweat tracing the edge of his hairline. Thorn nodded, his voice unyielding. Sector 16's relay was already lost to their opening barrage. Prioritize East Corridor tracking. Force them to commit before they're ready. His gaze returned to the viewport, where the Tirvox ships maneuvered with a cold, almost ritualistic precision, each movement a deliberate step forward in their systematic dismantling of Earth's orbital grid. "Captain, incoming transmission, visual and audio," Lieutenant Alrin called out, his hand poised above the comm switch as though expecting the contempt that would bleed from the alien envoy's words. Thorn didn't blink. "Let it through," he said quietly. A Tirvox figure filled the forward display, tall and encased in scaled armor that shimmered with a greenish cast, its eyes cold slits above a line of jagged teeth. The alien spoke in a tongue of guttural growls, but the translation system rendered the words with mechanical dispassion. "Humans of Sol, your refusal to submit is a violation of natural order. We will take what we require and cleanse your world of resistance." No one on the bridge shifted. No one spoke. The alien's disdain was palpable in every syllable, but Thorn's expression remained unchanged. "Cut the transmission," he ordered evenly, his voice steady as Alrin's hand moved to silence the alien's demands. The screen flickered back to tactical readouts, red glyphs pulsing where the Tirvox ships advanced in unyielding phalanxes. Merrick's voice broke the momentary stillness. "Multiple impacts across the western perimeter. Our last satellites are gone, sir. Earth's high orbit's blind except for our sensors." A tremor lanced through the deck, a brief vibration that settled as quickly as it arrived, and Thorn's knuckles whitened on the edge of the console. "We expected that," Thorn replied, his tone calm against the weight of Merrick's report. "Relay remaining censored data to Planetary Command. They'll need every fragment to coordinate their ground-based defenses." His fingers tapped a sequence on the console before he looked to Alrin. "Any word from Earth's Council?" Alrin's eyes flicked to a new data burst, compressed and dense with finality. "Counselor Havoc confirms authorization to engage, Captain. Earth refuses to negotiate further." A pulse of relief flickered in the men around him. Not fear, not bravado, but the certainty of decision. Thorn's eyes narrowed, the lines of his face deepening as he considered the path ahead. "Good, then we are done with words. Prepare the prow batteries. Target lead Tirvox cruisers at Vector Delta 7. I want those ships marked for priority strike." He straightened, every inch of his posture radiating the weight of command. Alrin spoke again, his voice low but clear. "They'll come in hard, Captain. Their doctrine doesn't allow for uncertainty. Once they believe we're cornered, they'll strike." There was no fear in his tone, only the recognition of the truth they all faced. Thorn turned to him with a nod. "That's what we're counting on." His gaze swept the deck, meeting each man's eyes with the quiet understanding of the burden they shared. "They've mistaken our caution for surrender. They will learn that Earth's spirit isn't measured by the size of its fleet." Outside, the Tirvox flagship loomed, its hull segmented and bristling with weapons ports that glowed faintly in the dark. The alien ship moved with the deliberate certainty of an executioner, the next strike already forming in the readouts that blinked across Marek's screen. Captain, their weapons are aligning with Sector East, Marek said, his voice tense as he tracked the looming threat. Let them, Thorne replied, each word etched in iron. Our shield arrays are holding. Push power to the main batteries. They'll find no easy conquest here. The filtered air tasted dry, a thin edge of iron tang in the recycled flow that marked the ship's readiness to fight. Across the deck, men moved with grim efficiency. No panic, no whispered prayers. Only the steady rhythm of those who understood that survival was an act of will, not chance. Final status on the civilians? Thorne asked, his tone softer but no less steady. Alrund's answer came with a glance at his console. All major metropolitan centers have begun evacuations. Bunkers are sealed and fully operational. Civilian traffic's been rerouted to deep shelters. The breath Thorne didn't know he'd held escaped his chest, and his eyes hardened. Then Earth people will endure whatever these Tyrvoks bring. Outside, the first of the enemy's kinetic lances tore a path across the dark, bright white against the velvet black of space. But Ardent Spear held its station. The ship's hull shuddered as energy fields absorbed the impact, shields glowing briefly before fading back to the darkness. Captain, Planetary Defense confirms our launch authority. Ardent Spear is cleared to engage as needed, Aldrin said, his fingers pausing only long enough to meet Thorne's gaze. Thorne's voice was a quiet promise. Then we meet them here. Earth's line is drawn and we will not yield. Marek's hands were steady on his controls, the glow of the displays reflected in his eyes. Weapons locked, sir. Ready for your command. Thorne didn't hesitate. All units hold fire until my mark. Let them believe we're cowering. Let them step closer. Then we'll show them what Earth's final stand truly means. The deck felt charged, every man attuned to the growing storm outside their hull. No one spoke of fear. No one needed to. The promise of battle was in the air, the knowledge that they stood as the last bastion between Earth and the cold certainty of subjugation. Thorne's gaze turned back to the viewport, the alien fleet's encroachment mirrored in the flickering lines of data on his display. Each point of light, a threat. Each threat, an opportunity. Track those formation shifts. Every meter they give us is a chance to break their resolve, he said, his voice a calm certainty that cut through the mounting tension. Halloran nodded once, his fingers already in motion. Understood, Captain. We'll make them pay for every inch. Thorne's hand rested on the console, each finger a testament to the promise he had made. Earth would stand, or Earth would die fighting. His eyes never left the path of the enemy's approach as he issued the next order. Hold this vector, let them come. Keep your eyes on those flanking vectors, Marek, Captain Rurik Thorne commanded, his voice steady against the cold data glow that painted the heads-up displays in amber pulses. The Ardent Spear shifted along its retreat vector, hull plates groaning as the maneuvering thrusters forced the flagship into a steep dive toward Earth's gravity well. Outside the viewport, the Tyrvok ships tightened their encirclement, each movement a measured threat. Thorne's mind worked in parallel to the ship's control systems, mapping the alien pursuit patterns, even as his crew monitored the damage overlays that flickered in red across the screens. His fingers tapped once against the edge of his console, a quiet percussion of calculation and resolve. Alrund's eyes never left the forward sensor display. They're consolidating in sectors 14 through 16, Captain. Their forward assault cruisers are pushing ahead of the formation. Looks like they're trying to pin us in. Thorne's lips thinned. Good. That's exactly what we want them to believe. He leaned closer to the console, studying the staccato bursts of data that marked the Tyrvok's formations as they pressed forward with cold, relentless intent. Each ship a testament to alien arrogance. Each formation gap a potential fracture point. The Ardent Spear shuddered again as simulated damage feedback rolled through the bulkheads, plating panels rattling as if struck by an unseen hammer. Marek's voice carried a note of forced calm. Outer hull plating showing breaches. Level 2 damage simulated. Damage signals transmitting cleanly to their sensors. Let them see what they want to see, Thorne murmured, his gaze locked on the waypoints Earth's command center had sent in encrypted bursts. Project Helix's coded data pulses, Thin lines of green and blue light flickered across the lower displays, weaving an invisible web that the Tiervox ships couldn't detect. Down on Earth's surface, the situation was shifting just as quickly. Brief flashes of ground combat feeds blinked through the deck's comm screens. Tiervox assault carriers raining kinetic fire on the outskirts of small townships. Human defensive batteries answering in defiance before being overrun. Civilians hurried down reinforced stairways, the cold edges of steel bulkheads pressing against their shoulders as they were guided deeper beneath the cities. Fathers clutched children to their chests. Young men cast last looks at the open sky before the hatch doors sealed them away. Thorn's thoughts turned for a moment to those sheltering below, and a flicker of anger sharpened his focus. He wouldn't allow this invasion to reach them, not while he held the line above. "Alrin, status on Earth's authorization for Helix deployment?" Thorn asked, his tone still as a drawn blade. Alan's fingers swept across his console, eyes scanning the data streams. "Council authorization confirmed, sir. Project Helix is cleared for final phase. Ground batteries have been synchronized to your targeting data." Thorn's reply was a single nod. "Prepare firing solutions for relay grid. We hold them here, and we hold them hard." The deck vibrated beneath his boots as the ship adjusted attitude, the stabilizers compensating for the abrupt vector shift. Thorn shifted his weight with the motion. Every muscle braced to counter the ship's lurching dance, as they feigned damage to the Tiervox sensors. Marek's voice returned, each word deliberate. "Their flagships locking targeting data on our position, Captain. Their lead commanders expecting a full rout." Thorn's mouth twitched in a humorless smile. "He's overconfident. Their doctrine doesn't allow for feints. They'll press forward and extend beyond their support ships. That's when they'll break." Alrin's eyes lifted from his console. "We'll have one shot to snap the spear, Captain." Thorn's voice dropped, low and calm. "Then we won't miss." The viewport showed the Tiervox flagship looming closer now, its layered hull lit by flickers of shield refractors, each segment glinting like alien scale armor. Its escort cruisers moved to flank Ardent Spear's trajectory, confident in their advantage, unaware that every shift of their formation was feeding into Thorn's calculated snare. A flicker of static pulsed across the intership comm channel. Earth's ground command spoke in measured bursts. Updates from the bunkers, reports of civilian movements, terse confirmations of readiness. Each transmission a heartbeat of Earth's quiet resolve. "Civilians sealed in sector bunkers," Alrin relayed, the data feeds sharp and unwavering. "All non-combatants accounted for. They're secure." Thorn let the information settle into the edge of his thoughts before refocusing on the readouts. The data overlays twisted in his mind's eye, each movement of the enemy a piece of a puzzle he would snap shut around them. Merrick's voice carried a note of disbelief. "They're shifting even faster, Captain. Pushing straight for our forward battery decks. They're not even considering a fallback position." "That's because they can't imagine we'd stand here and let them," Thorn said, a calm certainty in every syllable. "They think Earth's defenders will crack under this pressure. They think we're nothing but a cornered animal." He straightened, his voice lifting in quiet command. "Let's prove them wrong." Outside the viewport, the flicker of false damage signals played across Ardent Spear's hull, each burst a deliberate deception crafted to draw the Tiervox in deeper. The ship stabilizers fought the constant push of the gravity well, each course adjustment executed with surgical finesse, to appear as though forced, not chosen. Alrin keyed in the final sequence. "Project Helix code synchronized, Captain. All ground batteries linked, ready for your order." Thorn's eyes fixed on the forward trajectory readout, the Tiervox flagship moving like a predator through the darkness. "Wait until they're fully committed," he said, voice low and resolute. "They must believe they've already won." Earth's command center transmitted one last data burst, an encrypted pulse that confirmed readiness, a quiet handshake of shared purpose between the men above and those below. Thorn felt it like a weight in his chest, a final bond that nothing in the Tiervox arsenal could sever. Merrick's voice was hushed, but sure. "They're locked in, Captain. Final formation. No reserves left behind." Thorn didn't hesitate. "Then we finish this." His hand pressed down on the console, sending the final command to Earth's command grid. Project Helix targeting data pulsed green across the heads-up displays, a promise of retribution coded in every flicker. The deck thrummed as weapon relays aligned, energy banks charged to the limit. Alaran's voice cracked through the mounting intensity, each word driven by the raw edge of conviction. Helix engagement confirmed, all batteries aligned, final lock on Tirvok's flagship. Thorn's eyes hardened. Stand ready. No further words. And with that, the ardent spear surged forward once more, the false retreat giving way to the cold certainty of human purpose. Thorn's voice carried across the command deck, low and focused. Bring up the Helix warhead schematics. I want full integration overlays with Tirvok shield data. Let's see the real edge we're working with. The heads-up display flickered, streams of technical data flowing in rapid succession as blueprints layered across schematics of alien shield modulation. Every detail glowed with a stark clarity. Helix warheads tuned to frequencies that slipped between Tirvok's deflector lattices like threads of sharpened glass. Merrick adjusted the parameters at the weapons console, his hands steady despite the stakes that pressed against every breath. Calibrating warhead casing reinforcement, Captain. Kinetic dispersal settings locked to match gravitational arcs. Thorn's eyes moved across the readouts with a deliberate calm. Good. Don't let them slip a single gap. He shifted his weight, the deck plates cold beneath his boots, the taste of recycled air biting faintly at the back of his throat. Across the viewport, the distant shimmer of Earth's atmosphere reflected a blue glow, a reminder of everything they stood to lose. In the shadows below Earth's orbit, drones drifted in silence, each unit a silent witness to the storm building in the dark. Their outer shells blended into the cold blackness of the void, sensor arrays flicking between wavelengths as they tracked the Tirvok's fleet's disciplined advance. Deep beneath Earth's crust, in a sealed room lit only by flickering monitors, Earth's cyber warfare division worked in concentrated silence. Data intercepts scrolled across the heads-up screens, alien glyphs transformed into actionable pathways by the relentless parsing of human algorithms. Sergeant Dren Vorik leaned closer to his terminal, his breath shallow as he traced the alien command net's encrypted pulses. We've cracked their communications lattice, he said, his voice low but certain. We can inject false orders, reroute target prioritization, collapse their command structure from the inside. Major Rin Halvik's hand rested on the back of Vorik's chair, his tone edged with a cold satisfaction. Then do it. Feed them illusions until they choke on them. The air in the cyber warfare room felt heavy with the weight of layered encryption, the glow of data pulses reflected in the narrowed eyes of men who had spent years preparing for this. Vorik's fingers moved in careful sequences, each keystroke an incision into the alien arrogance that had brought the Tirvoks to Earth's doorstep. Outside, the ardent spear rotated along its retreat vector. Every thruster burn a dance to the false music Thorn conducted. The ship's hull carried streaks of simulated damage, sensor poofer pulses radiating out in subtle arcs that played directly into the Tirvok's expectations. Captain, we've established real-time sync with Earth's gravitational wells, Merrick reported, his voice clipped and controlled. All drone relays feeding telemetry at optimal intervals, Helix warheads locked to final approach vectors. Thorn's jaw tightened. Maintain those relays. Any drift in alignment and we lose our advantage. El's eyes flickered to the tactical display. Tirvok's ground commanders have begun broadcast cycles. They're reporting Earth's outer defense grid as broken and preparing for orbital encirclement. They're blind to the real threat. Thorn's gaze sharpened. That's the edge we hold. Let them believe in their victory a moment longer. It'll make their collapse absolute. He studied the simulation feeds with a soldier's eye. Every adjustment in the drone relay or targeting lattice a small act of defiance against an enemy that had never considered humans capable of this. The ardent spear's decks echoed with the controlled cadence of men who understood that every second mattered, every breath a measure of resolve. Captain, I'm running final checks on warhead proximity sensors, Merrick said. Each unit tuned to exploit microfracture points in the Tirvok's shield harmonics. Don't trust the numbers alone, Thorn replied, his tone even. Watch the real-time feed. Their shield oscillations will shift under combat stress, Adjust for live fluctuation. Merrick's lips pressed into a line. Understood, Captain. I'll monitor the telemetry directly. Thorne's gaze returned to the viewport, the Havoc flagship looming as a monolith of alien design. He could almost feel the weight of its command structure, the rigid hierarchy that would never bend but would break when the weight of Earth's hidden weapons fell upon it. Allern's voice cut through the focused calm. Cyber Warfare Division reporting false data injection successful. Tyrok's fleet receiving duplicate targeting orders. Fratricide risk climbing with each data cycle. Thorne's eyes narrowed. Good. Keep them guessing. The moment they start questioning their own data, they've already lost. Below, in Earth's bunkers, men whispered last farewells to families, the touch of cold steel bulkheads pressing against trembling hands, the scent of sweat and fear mixed with the stale tang of recycled air. But even in that darkness, there was no talk of surrender. Only the understanding that survival was worth any cost. In the Cyber Warfare Division, Thoric's fingers hesitated for a heartbeat before pressing the final command. We're in, sir. Every Havoc ship's command data now mirrors phantom targets, our kinetic signatures disguised as illusions, feeding their overconfidence. Havoc's voice was a measured finality. Then they will see ghosts where we stand. Back on the ardent spear, Thorne felt the shift in the air, an electric tension that pressed against his skin, a knowledge that the next hours would define Earth's future. Relay this to all ground stations. Final targeting vectors confirmed. Warheads locked. Await my mark. Marek adjusted his console, fingers steady despite the weight in the deck's metal bones. All units aligned, Captain. The moment you call it, we end this. Thorne let a breath escape, his focus absolute. We're not here to survive, Marek. We're here to show them that Earth was never theirs to claim. The ship's stabilizers shifted under a new vector burn, inertial dampers flexing as the ardent spear rolled onto its new course. The alien fleet adjusted in response, their ships crowding tighter as they prepared for the kill they believed was certain. Thorne's eyes held the cold clarity of a man who knew every move the enemy would make. His next words were soft but carried a gravity that none could mistake. Helix warheads armed and ready. Let them come. The final lock was engaged, the drones silent in the void above Earth's poles, every sensor tuned to the faintest ripple of energy that would betray the Tirvok's command ships. Marek's voice was a whisper. All relay data synchronized, Captain. We're ready. Thorne's final command was calm, each word a promise that carried the weight of every man who had ever drawn a line in the sand. Then, hold this position, let them come to us. The ardent spear's course shifted by a fraction of a degree, the calculated move of a predator waiting for its prey to stumble. And in the dark between stars, Earth's hidden edge waited to be revealed. Thorne's command resonated through the deck like a final vow. Helix, launch. His voice held the weight of Earth's defiance, and the crew responded in unified purpose. Marek's fingers flew across his console, synchronizing the drone relays. Helix warheads away, Captain, all trajectories locked. The ship's inertial stabilizers thrummed with contained power as the ardent spear adjusted orientation, each tilt of its hull timed to the arcs of kinetic death it had unleashed. Outside, the darkness of Earth's upper orbit erupted in trails of white light. Helix warheads curved in from multiple directions, each path guided by the hidden drones that had waited like silent predators. The first warhead punctured the lead Tirvok's cruiser's shields, the impact a burst of light and shattered armor that flickered in the crew's peripheral vision through the viewport's armored glass. Alrin's voice was tight, every word driven by the magnitude of the moment. First impact confirmed, Captain. Secondary detonations already cascading across the lead formation. His fingers worked as he relayed fresh telemetry to Earth's command center. Thorne's gaze swept the data readouts, his breathing measured despite the tremor of the deck beneath his boots. The Tirvok's ships, so orderly in their advance, now twisted in abrupt, jagged movements as the kinetic strikes split shield layers like glass under a hammer's blow. On the ground below, Earth's artillery batteries erupted in coordinated defiance. Plumes of blue-white light carved the night sky as kinetic slugs raced into the atmosphere, each strike a promise that Earth would not kneel. Merrick's face gleamed in the half-light of the console displays. Secondary impacts tearing through their escort ships. Their formations are splintering, Captain. Thorne leaned closer, eyes tracing the fragmented data lines of the Tiervox command net. Hold the relays in place. Every drone is a blade at their throat. Don't let them slip away. Beyond the viewport, the night glowed with sudden, lethal beauty. Warheads punched through the gaps in the alien phalanx, each impact blooming in a storm of ruptured plating and sudden flaring light. The Tiervox ships staggered, some turning in abrupt, chaotic arcs, as captains barked conflicting orders over confused comms. Ulrin's tone cut the air, steady but urgent. "Captain, ground command reporting. Tiervox planetary assaults are breaking. Our artillery's hammering their landing sites. They're pulling back from civilian sectors." Thorne didn't allow himself a flicker of relief. "Maintain overlap on those vectors. Don't give them a chance to regroup." His hand pressed down on the console, knuckles whitening as he felt the deck shift again, with the ship's subtle corrections. The smell of recycled air and the faint tang of heated electronics mingled in the confined space, every breath carrying the taste of struggle and resolve. Outside, the trails of the Helix warheads lingered like white scars across the black, marking the places where the Tiervox fleet had believed itself unassailable. Merrick's eyes were fixed on the trajectory overlays. "Tertiary salvo ready, Captain. Each warhead aligned to predicted command ship vectors." Thorne's nod was slight but absolute. "Release them. Let them see how the darkness can be turned against them." The drone relays pulsed again, each hidden watcher adjusting to track the Tiervox ships as they tried to break away from the trap that had been closing around them since the first shot. The ship's sensors fed back images of the unfolding chaos. Tiervox captains shouting contradictory commands, their formations fracturing under the weight of strikes they couldn't block. Their shield harmonics flared and vanished, flickering like dying embers as the kinetic warheads found the fractures and drove deep. Evelyn's voice cracked with a fierce note. "They're falling apart, Captain. Their main command ships venting atmosphere, internal containment's gone." The viewport showed the alien flagship twisting as it tried to break free. A shuddering behemoth, stripped of its certainty by the sudden violence that had descended on it from Earth's hidden edge. "Focus fire on that ship," Thorne ordered, every word clear as the ship's prow batteries realigned. "Break their will here." The deck vibrated again, a deep, measured roll as the ardent spear's prow batteries fired in concert. Kinetic slugs drove through the weakened defenses of the Tiervox flagship, each impact rippling outward in bright cascades of energy. Merrick's voice rose above the low chorus of system readouts. "Command ships gone, secondary detonations in their core, confirmed kill." A flicker of something almost like relief crossed Thorne's eyes, but he let it pass without a word. "Sweep the perimeter. Target any ship that tries to pull the others back into formation." Outside, the last remnants of the Tiervox command net sputtered in the face of human ingenuity, their data streams twisted into phantom commands and half-formed battle orders, each one a product of Earth's cyber warfare team's calculated sabotage. The ground below was a patchwork of city lights and artillery flashes, every burst of fire a message to the stars that Earth would not surrender. The vibrations of the ardent spear's own weapon discharges resonated in Thorne's bones, a physical echo of his refusal to yield. Marik's final report cut through the haze of overlapping voices. "No coherent Tiervox formation left, Captain. They're scattering." Thorne's gaze swept the tactical overlays, his posture a study in calm defiance. "Hold position. Let them break themselves against us." Ulrin's fingers moved quickly, locking in the final targeting sequences. "Relay data to ground command." "They're watching every move, Captain." A beat passed as the ship's prow batteries cycled once more, their internal capacitors feeding energy into the next barrage. Thorne's voice was quiet but carried through the deck. "Let them see it, Ulrin. Let them understand that Earth will never be a prize to be claimed." The air tasted of sweat and the faint tang of ionized air from the energy discharges that raked the hull. Every man aboard the ardent spear felt the weight of the moment settle on their shoulders. A gravity that was more than physical. Outside, the last of the Tirvox ships twisted away in fragmented arcs, the final remnants of a fleet that had come to conquer, but found only Earth's fury waiting in the darkness. Thorn watched them go, each ship a fleeting shadow against the battered glow of the planet they'd thought to dominate. He let the final echoes of the engagement settle before he spoke, each word measured and resolute. Begin damage control sweeps. No illusions here. We've bloodied them. But we hold the line until they're gone. The deck's vibrations settled into a slow pulse, each man turning back to his station with a shared understanding that this was only the first battle in a war that would not be won by fire alone. And in that quiet certainty, the Ardent Spear's course shifted once more, ready for whatever came next. The Ardent Spear's deck lights shifted to a cool blue hue as the ship's cyber warfare node engaged, linking directly with Earth's underground command centers. Data streams rippled across the heads-up displays, feeding new lines of alien encryption into the terminals manned by Earth's best. Thorn watched from the command deck, eyes locked on the tactical feed as Allren relayed updates in a voice that didn't waver. Tirvox net infiltration at 70%, Captain. Ghost signals are merging with their targeting data. Down in the secure cyber warfare room, buried beneath the Ardent Spear's main deck, Vorik's fingers danced across the input keys, each command line a thin blade driven into the Tirvox data spine. He leaned forward, sweat beading at his hairline as he twisted the alien language into something it had never been designed to comprehend. His breath felt heavy in his chest, but his eyes never left the lines of shifting glyphs. Injecting false command streams, he said, his voice husky with the strain of matching alien rhythms. Targeting echoes layered on their flank intercepts. Halvek's hand rested on the console's edge, eyes narrowing as he tracked the alien fleet's staggered responses. They're splitting fire control, shooting at ghosts instead of real threats. His tone was cold, measured, a mirror to the calm fury that had settled over every man in the room. Above, the Ardent Spear's prow batteries fired again, kinetic slugs tearing through the weakened outer hulls of the Tirvox ships. The physical and digital assaults fed each other, each blow reinforcing the next. The ship's deck plates vibrated under Thorn's boots as the impacts rippled through the air, the ozone bite of charged weapon cores blending with the tang of sweat and steel. Allren's report carried the tight clarity of a mind focused on the kill. Tirvox flagship relaying contradictory orders, multiple target locks on their own vanguard units. He watched the data arcs flicker, the momentary hesitation in the alien formations as they tried to parse the flood of conflicting commands. Thorn's voice was a low growl of certainty. Push them deeper into that confusion. Feed them targets that don't exist until they can't see what's in front of them. He shifted his weight forward, his posture a coiled spring as he watched the Ardent Spear's final targeting alignment click into place. Vorik's hands never stopped, his knuckles white against the control pad. We're inside their shield synchronizers now, redirecting firing solutions back onto their own interceptors. He looked up, meeting Halvek's gaze. They're killing themselves, sir. Good, Halvek said softly, his eyes hard. They chose this fight. They'll reap its harvest. On the viewport, the Tirvox ships twisted in abrupt, jagged arcs as weapons meant for Earth's defenders struck their own flanking vessels. Bright flashes lit the black, the short-lived bloom of armor plates buckling under alien-grade ordnance. Thorn felt each impact in the deck beneath his feet, each flash of destruction, a final punctuation mark, in the sentence Earth had begun, when it refused to bow. Merrick's report was delivered in the clipped cadence of a man who understood the weight of every word. Ground Command confirms civilian sectors secure, Tirvox ground divisions pulling back, cohesion lost under contradictory orders. Thorn let the information settle, his thoughts already shifting to the next move. Maintain that data stream. Don't let them find a foothold. Every second of doubt is a fracture we can exploit. Vorik's eyes gleamed in the low light as he pulled up new data threads, each line of alien code a new challenge to be bent to Earth's will. injecting false navigation commands. They'll chase phantom targets until their formations collapse. The air in the cyber warfare chamber tasted of static discharge and sweat. The only sound, the rhythmic tapping of fingers and the distant thunder of the ardent spear's kinetic discharges. Havoc's hand hovered over the confirm key. "Ready for final infiltration pass, Captain." Thorn's voice carried no hesitation. "Execute. Let them drown in their own arrogance." Wreaked's final keystrokes sent the last packet of false commands into the Tyrvok's net, each line a lie that twisted reality around the alien ships. He exhaled slowly, his chest heaving with the sudden release of tension. "All data echoes active. Their sensors are feeding them a war that doesn't exist." Above, the ardent spear's prow guns aligned with mathematical finality, kinetic slugs hammering into Tyra's hulls already reeling from the confusion within. Thorn watched the flashes of impact through the viewport, his expression a mask of cold satisfaction. "Continue the barrage. Don't give them a chance to breathe." Alrin's eyes flicked to the command uplink. "Earth's Council has authorized a final offer of ceasefire. Transmitting now. Message: withdraw beyond Sol's gravity threshold or face complete eradication." For a moment, the deck seemed to hold its breath. The Tyrvok's leader's response crackled across the comm channels, an alien voice filtered into clipped English by Earth translators. "Your defiance is meaningless. We will take your world. We will burn it from orbit." Thorn's expression didn't shift. "Then they've chosen their end." He turned to Marek, his voice a calm blade. "Focus fire on any vessel that tries to regroup. They're out of time." Wreaked watched the data streams flicker in response to the alien refusal, his own voice a quiet echo of Thorn's resolve. "We'll keep them blind, Captain. They'll die in confusion." The ship's stabilizers shifted as the ardent spear swung to engage a new target vector, the low vibration of its maneuvering drives resonating up through the soles of every boot on the deck. Outside, the Tyrvok's flagship's weapons flickered as they tried to reorient, brief bursts of light against the cold dark that never found their mark. Alrin's voice was a quiet promise as he locked in the final firing solutions. "Final targeting locked. We're ready, Captain." Thorn's gaze never wavered from the Tyrvok's ships that twisted and died in the void beyond the viewport. His final command was a whisper that carried more weight than any shout. "Then finish it." The ardent spear's batteries opened fire once more, kinetic slugs tearing through fractured hulls as the last of the Tyrvok's cohesion unraveled in the face of Earth's cunning. And in that final surge of destruction, every man aboard the ardent spear knew the truth. The Tyrvoks had come, expecting conquest, but found only the iron edge of a world that would not be broken. The ardent spear's prow batteries aligned with quiet finality, each gunner's station echoing the measured calm that had settled over the deck. Thorn stood at the center of it all, his eyes locked on the tactical display where the Tyrvok's flagship loomed, an icon of alien might surrounded by the battered remnants of its escort ships. Own voice carried the clinical edge of a man who knew the stakes had narrowed to this final exchange. "Target grid mapped, Captain. All trajectories verified against the flagship's shield oscillations." His fingers moved across the console, each motion a deliberate stroke in a strategy honed by necessity. Thorn's jaw tightened as he watched the data lines converge. "Relay final targeting data to Project Helix. Every warhead locked to the flagship's core structure." Marek's reply was a single nod, sweat tracing a path along his temple as he executed the command. Helix warheads synced with the relay grid, firing solutions locked. Beyond the viewport, the distant shape of the Tyrvok's flagship shifted, alien engines flaring as it tried to realign. Thorn saw the brief flicker of confusion in their formation, the hesitation that always followed when an empire built on rigid certainty found its core assumptions turned to ash. He leaned forward slightly, voice low but clear. "Let them feel the weight of every life they threatened." The Helix warheads launched in a choreographed ballet of destruction, each trajectory a carefully plotted path that exploited the smallest cracks in the alien flagship's shield matrix. The viewport filled with white arcs that sliced through the darkness, each trail a testament to Earth's quiet fury. The first impact flared across the flagship's prow, a burst of light that swallowed the alien crest and left only a ragged tear in its wake. The second strike dug deeper, kinetic force buckling the alien alloy and sending fragments spiraling away in jagged shards. Alrund's voice broke through the sudden flare of destruction, each word laced with cold certainty. Multiple breaches confirmed. Their outer shield harmonics are failing. Thorn watched the flagship's response, a sudden pivot, alien helmsmen trying to spin away from the converging blows. It was too late. The Helix warheads adjusted in real time, drone relays feeding them every subtle movement of the alien hull. The final barrage struck in coordinated fury, warheads tearing into the flagship's core modules. The viewport flashed as internal detonations rippled outward, the alien flagship's spine arcing in a slow, reluctant fracture. It didn't break with grandeur. It crumpled in a stuttering collapse, each internal deck giving way in turn as the ship's reactors tore themselves apart. Eric's report was quiet, almost reverent. Confirmed flagship kill, no escape pods. Command structure disintegrated. Thorn let the words hang in the air for a moment, his expression unchanging. He felt the tension in his chest begin to unwind, each breath a measured return to the reality of the deck around him. Target any remaining vessels attempting to regroup. Don't give them time to find a new commander. The deck shifted slightly as the ardent spear adjusted its vector, prow batteries swinging to track the nearest Tiervox cruiser. Kinetic slugs fired in controlled bursts, each impact a hammer blow that drove the alien fleet further into disarray. Below the command deck, Earth's ground batteries joined the final act. Rail slugs shot skyward from hidden valleys and underground silos, the force of each launch shuddering through soil and stone. In the control centers beneath the planet's crust, men watched their targeting overlays with the same cold focus that had filled Thorn's gaze since the first tyrant threat had crossed Earth's sky. Alrund's eyes met Thorn's. Tiervox formations have lost cohesion. Isolated captains are retreating along staggered vectors. No central orders left. Thorn's reply was soft, each word a final pronouncement. Then let them scatter. Let them carry the memory of what they found here. Outside, the drifting debris of the Tiervox flagship floated in silent testament to the end of their campaign. Fragments of alien alloy drifted in slow arcs, bright against the faint glow of Earth's atmosphere far below. No triumphant cries echoed through the deck. There was no need for them. The victory lay in the debris fields, and the still burning fires of alien arrogance reduced to wreckage. Marek's hands moved across the console, adjusting the targeting scans. All hostiles accounted for, Captain. No further organized resistance. Thorn let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his fingers flexing at his sides. Hold position. Begin damage control sweeps. I want every system on this ship checked twice. No surprises, while we still hold the field. The deck stabilizers shifted as the ardent spear eased into a holding pattern, the last kinetic rounds falling away into the darkness as the final echoes of the battle faded. In the viewport, the Tiervox fleet's remains drifted in aimless arcs, their formations broken into splinters that would never reform. Alrund's voice carried a note of quiet finality. Transmission from Earth's Council. Well done. Hold your ground and await further instructions. Thorn nodded, his eyes never leaving the viewport where the debris of the alien flagship marked the place of their final stand. Tell them we're still here, and we're not going anywhere. The command deck settled into a focused stillness, each man turning back to his console with the same unspoken understanding. The worst was over, but Earth would stand watch until the last echo of threat was gone. Outside, the light of Earth's sun glinted off the drifting wreckage, each shard of alien hull a testament to the price of underestimating a world that would not be claimed. The cold in Thorn's chest began to ease, replaced by the quiet conviction that had guided every order he'd given since the first shot was fired. Marek's final report was delivered in a voice that no longer held any trace of doubt. All clear, Captain. Earth's orbit secure. No further contacts. Thorn allowed himself a single nod, the flicker of a breath that carried more weight than any cheer. Then we hold. We hold until every man on this ship knows that we have done what we came here to do. The ardent spear's hull gleamed in the muted light, each mark of battle a testament to the truth of Earth's defiance. Debris fields drifted in slow orbits around the ship, bright fragments of an empire's dream scattered by the unyielding will of those who refused to bend. And in the quiet that followed, Thorn spoke one final command to the crew that had carried Earth's burden through the fire. Log all actions. Mark this day. We'll not let them forget what they found when they came for Earth. The deck crew moved with deliberate purpose, every man a part of the final testament to the cost of invasion. And in the silence that followed, the ardent spear held its position, unwavering. A single ship that had shattered an empire's certainty and proven that Earth would never be conquered. The ardent spear's sensors tracked the broken arcs of the surviving Havoc ships, their formations scattered like driftwood in the dark. The command deck was hushed, each man focused on the data streams that confirmed what the cold black beyond the viewport already told them. The alien fleet was in full retreat. Marek's fingers moved across his console, the measured rhythm of his keystrokes a steady counterpoint to the chaos outside. Havoc's command net is fractured, Captain. They're broadcasting overlapping orders, each captain trying to seize control of the withdrawal. Thorn watched the flickering data lines with a quiet intensity. They built an empire on hierarchy, Marek, and when that breaks, all they have left is blame. The viewport showed the lead Havoc's cruiser stuttering in its course, emergency drives flaring as it tried to slip away from the wreckage of its own command ship. In the confusion, it brushed too close to a smaller vessel. Alien hulls scraped together, bright flashes of energy spilling out into the darkness as desperate pilots fought to avoid collision. Alren's report came in clipped phrases. Their transmissions are scattered. Some calling for retreat, others demanding retribution. We're seeing overlapping orders for fallback points that don't exist. Thorn let the information settle, his eyes steady. Hold watch. Let them tear each other apart if they must. Beneath the deck, the final kill logs were being compiled. Each shot fired, each impact recorded with clinical precision. Earth's command wanted every detail. The cold truth of what had been done in orbit, above the world that refused to kneel. The data feeds from Earth's council blinked once, the transmission window crisp and short. Alren read the words aloud, his voice calm. No alien dominion will govern Sol. That's the final message, Captain. No embellishments. Thorn allowed himself a brief nod. Broadcast it across all open frequencies. Let them hear it in every channel they still cling to. Marek's hands worked quickly, feeding the message through the comm relays. A single line of finality echoed through the void. Earth's refusal to be conquered, carved into the silence of the black. The viewport reflected the slow roll of alien hull fragments, each twisted edge catching the faint light from Earth's distant sun. They drifted without purpose, a silent testament to the price of believing humanity would fold. Alren's voice was measured, each syllable as weighty as the debris field outside. All Tyrish ships moving on independent vectors now, Captain. No coordinated retreat, just fragments. Thorn spoke softly, his tone a calm anchor. Then, Earth has made its point. The air in the command deck tasted dry, the faint edge of warm electronics and human breath pressing against the filtered flow of recycled air. Marek exhaled slowly, his eyes flicking up to meet Thorn's. We've marked them, Captain. Every kill logged, every maneuver tracked. Thorn's gaze shifted to the viewport, where the ardent spear's hull lights cut through the darkness, the ship's steady orbit a reminder that this battle had never been about numbers. Then that record will stand as our testament. Outside, the Havoc ships limped through the void, their formations ragged and fractured. No tight phalanx lines, no measured approach, only the drifting remnants of an empire's arrogance laid bare. Allen's report carried the cold clarity of fact. No further organized resistance detected. They're running blind, Captain. Thorn let the words linger before he spoke. Track them until they're gone. Earth's watch doesn't end because they're broken. It ends when they're gone. The crew moved with the surety of men who understood what was at stake. Marek's eyes flicked across the sensor feeds, each movement of his hands a deliberate choice in the quiet aftermath. Below the deck, Earth's command center was already moving to secure the system. Orders flowed in measured bursts, reinforce satellite grids, re-establish comm relays, ready the next phase of Earth's defense. Alrin's fingers hesitated for a fraction of a second as he keyed in the final logs. Captain, civilian loss estimates confirmed, light casualties thanks to the early evacuations. A flicker of something moved behind Thorne's eyes, but he kept his tone even. They're alive. That's what matters. Let the next council see the price we paid for this day. He turned back to the viewport, the drifting alien wreckage marking the edges of Earth's final line. The cold certainty of victory settled into his chest like a weight he would carry long after the last piece of Tirvox alloy had burned up in the atmosphere. The comm relay crackled once. Earth Council sending a final transmission, their voice as measured and final as the quiet in the command deck. Hold your ground, Earth sky is yours. Thorne let out a slow breath, the last of the tension easing from his shoulders. We'll hold it, as long as we must. Outside, the stars burned with quiet indifference, but the crew of the Ardent Spear understood the truth of what they'd done. Earth had not been taken. It had not been cowed. In that moment, Thorne let his gaze drift across the men around him. Alrin's quiet certainty, Marek's unwavering focus, the calm determination in every breath of the men who had made the impossible real. Status of ground forces, he asked, his voice steady. Alrin answered without pause. Civilian centers secured, defensive batteries rearmed and operational. Earth is holding, Captain. Thorne nodded once, the small motion heavy with everything that had been fought for. Then we remain Earth's last line. Until we're told otherwise. Marek's hands paused on his console, his voice quiet. Captain, the logs show the final tally. The Tirvox lost everything they brought to the system. Thorne's eyes narrowed. And Earth lost nothing it wouldn't give again to remain free. For a long moment the deck was still. No alarms, no desperate commands. Only the quiet certainty of a world that had stood its ground. In that stillness, Thorne let his thoughts drift to the men who hadn't come back from the first impacts. The ones whose names would be etched in the Council's final record, whose memory would mark every decision that came after. Let the logs reflect it, he said, his voice low. For every man who fell, for every life that still breathes below. The Ardent Spear's hull lights tracked across the drifting debris, each shard a reminder of what had been risked and what had been saved. And in that last moment of aftermath, Thorne spoke the final words of Earth's defiance. This is our sky, and it will never belong to them. The crew moved with quiet purpose, each man a part of the final watch that would hold until the last Tirvox ship had fled the system. In that calm aftermath, Earth's sovereignty was more than a word. It was the promise of every breath they had fought to keep. The final echoes of battle had faded into the dark by the time Earth's orbital grid came back online, the last arrays flickering into place with silent efficiency. The Ardent Spear held its orbit with quiet vigilance, the damage control teams moving through each deck in practiced sweeps, patching every scar that marked the fight they'd survived. On the command deck, the glow of the heads-up displays had shifted from the red urgency of combat to the steady green of system status, each light a quiet marker of Earth's will to endure. Marek's voice carried the flat certainty of closure. All orbital defense platforms linked, Project Helix's encrypted data archived in Earth's central vault. Thorne's gaze moved across the displays, his eyes tracing the faint outlines of Earth satellites. Each unit steady, each signal a testament to what had been preserved. Log the grid status in the final report. Let the Council see that the line they drew still stands. Alrin's fingers paused at his console, his tone level but edged with something deeper. Transmission from Earth's Council. All units stand down from combat readiness. Defensive watch status only. The Council convenes to confirm the final resolutions. Thorne let the weight of those words settle into the deck beneath his boots. Understood. Inform the ground batteries. They can stand easy. The viewport stretched before him, Earth's blue curve washing the darkness in soft light. Debris fields drifted in slow arcs, the last shards of an alien ambition that would haunt no more corridors of power. The quiet was not peace. It was a final exhalation of fury spent and purpose secured. Below, the council chamber was a place of deliberate calm. In the recessed well of data terminals, Councillor Havoc's voice was stripped of ceremony as he read the final tally. Casualty counts finalized, civilian losses held to the lowest possible margin. Tyrovek's fleet withdrawal confirmed and monitored until system exit. Project Helix sealed for future threats. His words echoed through the chamber. No celebration or pageantry to soften their weight. They were statements of fact. Earth's record of what had been forced upon it and what it had done in return. A quiet murmur passed among the men who lined the council benches, each bearing the strain of the last hours in the lines of their faces and the tired focus of their eyes. No cheers rose here, no hollow relief that would fade in days. Only the certainty that Earth's claim had been written in the cold dark and in the resolve of every life that still breathed beneath the planet's skin. Havoc's final words fell into the still air. Let this be Earth's last message on the matter. This system is closed. Forever. In the Ardent Spear's watch station, Thorn heard the transmission pulse through the comm relay. He didn't speak it aloud. He let it settle into the quiet around him like the last stone placed in a fortress wall. His eyes flicked to Marek, who met the look with a small nod, a silent recognition of everything they had endured. Ulrin's voice was steady as he keyed the confirmation. Council's message acknowledged, broadcast complete across all channels, Captain. Thorn let his shoulders ease back by the smallest degree, the muscles of his neck tight from hours spent hunched over the tactical displays. Maintain orbital watch. Any movement, no matter how small, mark it and report. Earth's quiet doesn't mean we stop listening. Outside the viewport, the last Tirvok vessels fled in broken clusters, their hulls scored and scarred, command frequencies crackling with half-formed orders and desperate accusations. They drifted like shattered bones of an empire that had once believed Earth would bend to its will. Marek's report was delivered in a tone stripped of anything but the hard truth. Tirvok signals fading from Sol's gravity well, Captain. Their remaining units have crossed the outer threshold. Thorn let his gaze linger on the dwindling contacts. Mark the moment in the logs. That's where their story, here, ends. The deck beneath his boots was cool. Each vibration of the ship's systems a reminder of the thin line between safety and exposure. Every man at his station moved with the quiet focus of those who understood that victory was never permanent. It had to be held, breath by breath, until the last threat was gone. He let his thoughts drift for a moment to the bunkers beneath Earth's crust, to the families who would emerge into the light of a world that had refused to be claimed, to the men whose names would be etched in the Council's records, never to be spoken of in conquest or glory, but in the simple truth that they had stood the final watch. Ellern's voice cut through the reflection, quiet but sure. Council requests a final report, Captain. They want to know if Earth's skies are truly ours. Thorn didn't hesitate. They are. Tell them the last threat has passed beyond our reach, and Earth's hold remains unbroken. Outside, the Tirvok's remnants vanished into the black. Their path turned away from the system they would never again call prey. Reports trickled in from deep system sensors. Confirmation of the alien withdrawal, rumors of fracture in the Starforge worlds they would return to. Earth had done more than repel an invasion. It had exposed the fractures that ran through the heart of an empire built on forced unity. Merrick's hands paused over the console, his voice low. They'll remember this, Captain. The ones who come after, they'll know Earth won't be taken. Thorn nodded once, the motion small but final. Then that's enough. He turned his gaze to the planet below, the soft blue curve lit by the steady glow of city lights, each point a promise of what had been saved. The air in the command deck tasted of recycled filters and the faint warmth of the ship's systems. It was the taste of survival, of a battle fought with no illusions and no promises, but the ones they gave themselves. In the quiet, Thorn stepped closer to the viewport, his reflection framed by the drifting debris beyond. His face was lined with fatigue, but his eyes were steady as he spoke the last words he would offer to the stars. This is Earth's dominion, and it will not be challenged again. The crew heard him, each man's posture tightening in response to the weight of that statement. They would carry it forward, into the watch that would stretch beyond these hours, into the knowledge that Earth's refusal to kneel would not be forgotten by those who had witnessed it. Alren's final report came in a voice that matched the quiet certainty of the deck. Orbital grid secure, Earth skies are held, Captain, and Earth endures. Thorn let his final words be the only answer needed. Then let it be recorded. Earth stands, and no one will ever take that from us. As the Arden Spear's course settled into the last patrol vector, as Earth's orbital grid pulsed once more with quiet authority, the story of this day was sealed. No grandeur, no illusions, only the cold certainty that when Earth's final line was tested, it held. And in that knowledge, the Arden Spear's crew turned to their next watch, each man a final line in the testament of Earth's unyielding spirit. If you enjoyed this story of Earth's final stand and the human spirit that wouldn't bend, drop a comment and let me know what gripped you most. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're ready for more gripping tales of defiance and triumph, make sure to subscribe.